Hey guys, Thrills on Wheels here. How's it going? Today we're going to be installing some rock sliders. These ones are from Raslarr. They're just up in Lilydale, pretty local to me, so I was able just to go and pick them up. The factory ones here, these are great. Super lightweight, being aluminium. They're good for getting into the car and reaching up to the rooftop tent as well. But obviously, being aluminium and so lightweight, they provide little to no protection. So something comes up and smacks you, it's just going to go straight through, hit the sill and cause a lot of damage. So I figured I'd get some rock sliders. I chose the Raslarr rock sliders because they look good. They're tilted up on a bit of an angle to give you more clearance. They've got the little kick out at the back there to push the car away from any rocks that you might be up against. And it looks like they're made well, and they're local to me as well, so I could just go and pick them up. They're about $12.50, I think they were. That's how much I paid for them. And you can also get the scrub bars that extend up to the bull bar too, but I decided not to get them because I don't really think I need them. So first up, obviously I've got to get rid of the factory side steps here. There's just 8 bolts on the back of the sill here, so super easy. I might need to take this mud flap off and get a new one once the new rock sliders are on, but we'll see how we go and yeah, we'll get into it. Nice. There it is. That was pretty easy, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that was a bolt in the bottom one and a stud with a nut on the top, so you can hang it on there before you do it up or take it off. Super easy. Alrighty, so obviously all the hardware is supplied. We've got bolts, washers, nuts, all that good stuff. So the way it mounts up is these 2 back ones go around the foam rail, 2 long bolts through them, and then the front one here bolts up to the gearbox cross member, all using new hardware. This one curves under the exhaust, and from factory the 80 series have a pretty big muffler there, so I think it wouldn't fit with the stock exhaust, but most 80s nowadays have aftermarket exhaust anyway, so it's not really a problem. I've just got a straight pipe, so this should be fine for me, but something to keep in mind. Each side's about 25 kilos, so it's going to be a bit trickier to lift up myself, but we'll see how we go. I think I'll try to lift it up, get the middle bolt through, and then that should hold it, and then do the rest from there. So for the front one here that bolts up to the gearbox cross member, I'm just going to take those 2 bolts out now, so that it's ready to go. Oh, jeez. Bit tight under here. Gotta try bench press this bad boy and get a bolt through at the same time. Oh, fuck. So it looks like my ARB air locker line is running along the frame rail here, so I've just got to move that out of the way so that it doesn't get pinched by the rock sliders. There it is, got the bolt through, so at least it's not going anywhere now. I'd probably say get 2 people to do this if you're going to do this. So I just thought I'd show you guys what's actually going on underneath here. So that's the front of the car on that side. Here's the front one that goes into the gearbox cross member. The next one down here, this is the middle one that I put through. Just the bolt goes over the top of the frame rail to hold it in. And then once you do it up, it squeezes the frame rail. That's my ARB locker line that was getting in the way. I've got to fix that up and move that so it doesn't get melted by the exhaust. And then the back one's here, same deal. Bolt goes through the top and you've just got to bend this exhaust heat shield out of the way a bit. And then that's pretty much it. So it's pretty easy. This exhaust shield is pretty soft. You can just bend it with your hands pretty easily. So you can get the nut on this side. So it looks like the bolts I took off, 12mm, the front gearbox cross member bolts, 17mm, and the frame rail bolts are 19mm. So lots of tools out. There it is, super solid. Haven't fully tightened them, but pretty good. Bit of a tomato cup of soup break. If you know, you know. So instead of just having the plain bars with no top on top, I've got this cover that sits over the top and bolts in. I've got like dimple die cut holes, and with this there's actually a few options. I can't remember what they were, but there was the dimple die cut, there's a couple other patterns, and you can also get something custom too. So if you wanted to write, you know, your name or Land Cruiser on the cover here, you can do that too, and it gets laser cut. So pretty cool, but I just went with the dimple die cut. This just goes on top like that and then bolts in. Okay, this just slides on top, and then there's a couple Allen head bolts that go through the top, and there's a nut you've got to put on the bottom to tighten it up. There's 8 of these. Starting to think it would have been easier to put this on first before mounting the rock sliders to the car, but we'll make it work. So I've got all the Allen head bolts in. Now there's just nylock nuts that go on the bottom, and I'm hoping I'll be able to fit something in here to hold this while I'm doing up the nut. Otherwise I'm going to be in a bit of strife. There we go, looks like that's done the job. This is on, and it looks pretty saucy. So there it is, that's this side done. All installed, good to go. If you're gonna do this, definitely install this first before you put the rock sliders in the car. It'd be much easier. They look great, especially being black. It ties in a lot better with, you know, my rear bar and all the rest of the black stuff we've got going on here, snorkel and stuff. I would say I probably need to get a new mud flap here, because the factory side steps goes into the slotted hole here, And now that I've got the rock sliders, it's just an empty hole. So I think the DX model 80 series didn't have side steps maybe. And so these mud flaps are completely filled in. They don't have a hole there. So I might try and source them. I think they'd look pretty good. So I've decided to be smart this time and install this cover first, instead of struggling and trying to do it while it's on the car. There we go, that was a lot easier. Put it on before you put the sliders in the car. So I had a little bit of an issue with the hardware supplied. This long bolt here is one of the ones that go over the top of the frame rail. The nut supplied, and the only nut that's left over was this one, so it had to be the one that was meant for this bolt. And it's too small, it doesn't fit it. So that's kind of annoying me, so I need to go down to Bunnings and get another nylock nut that actually fits this bolt. Other issue was these bolts here. The bolt into the gearbox cross member. These are the washers that were supplied with it. Give you a closer look. These ones here, you can see they're not really that big. And so when you're bolting through the rock sliders into the gearbox cross member, the washer isn't big enough for the hole. It's just, you know, it's barely holding on. So I'm just using the factory bolts for the front here, the ones that were through the cross member originally. So no use for these. And then I've got to go to Bunnings for a nut for this one. Apart from that though, pretty good. I'll show you how I got this back one working there, because there's a bit of clearance issues with the fuel tank. So we're at the back, that's the back of the car there. So for this one, the bolt goes through the hole here, and then it comes out the other side of there. If you can see it just up there. You've got to make sure there's enough clearance for the end of that bolt and the fuel tank, because the fuel tank's body mounted, which means it's going to move around a little bit. I didn't really have enough clearance, so what I did was I backed off this bolt and another one over here, which loosened the fuel tank, and then I got a crowbar and just moved it across just a little bit and did it back up. That's given me enough clearance. Everything else is bolted up except for this one, because I'm missing the nut. Such is life. So there it is, the rock slider install. Pretty happy with how they turned out, apart from the hardware issues that I had, but it's no biggie realistically. It's good to have that peace of mind that I'm not going to smash my seal in. So yeah, there it is guys. I'll see you on the next one.